Rebounds. Urban Dictionary defines it as just some person you use to get over someone you broke up with. On their own, rebounds will never be enough, but they can be an okay distraction. Usage, she doesn't matter. She's just a rebound. Wow, okay, that was rude, but hey, it's not like you care for the rebound, right? Or maybe you do. It's actually a complicated question, right? But the question that I want to ask you guys is, why do you think we go for rebounds? Is it because we are heartbroken? Or is it because we are lonely? Or simply, we are just horny? And while some people have a great time in rebounds and, like they say they have amazing sex and whatnot, some people actually think that it's a terrible decision. So for episode 9 of How I Dealt With It, I wanted to get to the bottom of rebounds. Yes. I'm your host Divyani Rattanpal, and before I go on, let me tell you that if you like listening to this podcast, then you have to subscribe to the Quint's channel on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and the several other platforms that we're live on right now. You can also log on to the Quint website and check out our podcast section. Now, coming back to rebounds, guys, I was looking for different stories that people had about rebounds because I've been really interested in exploring this arrangement between two people. I know that it comes from a really heavy place in your heart, and my exploration got me on Reddit where I typed this question. Ever had a rebound? Tell me the good, bad, and ugly. I waited for a few hours, and then Girl Gamer replied.
So, my boyfriend had just broken up with me. We got back 3 months later, but during this time, I was really hurt. So I downloaded Tinder. I was just looking for a friends with benefits kind of thing. I matched with this really handsome guy, a dad joke expert, and I decided this was the dude. So we meet up and blah blah blah, we start having sex. Halfway through though, he stops. Is your brother George? We then realize that this guy was my brother's best friend from high school, who he still hangs out with. We stopped right away. And now he still comes over to my brother's house and we just look at each other awkwardly. I have to admit though, one of the best guys in bed.
Awkward! But guys, what is a rebound if it's not awkward and also weirdly comforting? Yeah, as crazy as it sounds. But, here we are talking about how crazy rebounds are and how it helps us sort our ugly emotions, etc. But what if you are on the other side? What if you are the one who is being rebounded on? George's case is a very interesting one. He was rebounded on not once, not twice, but thrice. Yes, guys. And, well, what can I say about this? George is not diplomatic, that, he wants to wish them all the good things in life. No. That's not George, guys. He wishes them pain. He wishes all the girls who rebounded on him a lot of pain.
So for this podcast, I'm going to be the one who says who's the one who's been rebounded on multiple times, and I've only rebounded once out of these 3 relationships that I've had. One when I was 16, one when I was 17, and currently the one I'm going through at the moment was between 18 and 19. So me and X1 had a relationship for 3 months. And it failed as she left me to be with someone else. And back then I did not know how to handle a relationship whatsoever. So she comes back around a couple months later, 3 months later, and we start a new relationship. And that relationship lasts for a year. This relationship was very toxic, very damaging. She was incredibly manipulative. She cut herself. She was borderline crazy. But at the same time, I was unaware and I did not know how a relationship should be like. I found out she was lying to me about something throughout our entire relationship, which pissed me off. And I decided to stop talking to her, or go on a break, I'd say. And within that break, she had started talking to her best friend, who I consider a pretty good friend of mine as well. And little do I know, she sends me a message saying it's not going to work, and she starts dating him 3 days after, right? As she posted on her social media. And of course, I was devastated. Not only did she leave me once for someone else, now she left me again for someone else, and I fell for that trap, shame. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I was, of course, the one who's been shamed on. And within 4 months of the breakup, I was still in a good amount of pain, but I was doing much better. And I find out that my best friend was interested in me sexually and romantically, and she wanted to start a relationship with me as well. And okay, so that's good. We start a relationship, and all of a sudden my mind just forgets about my ex. Like, oop, gone, pain gone, absolutely. As I started falling into infatuation, I wanted to spend all my time I could with her, and so on and so forth. And that relationship only lasts for around 2 months, as I've got needy, and she did not want anything to do with the neediness. And she leaves me, and now not only am I devastated from the first breakup, as I didn't completely heal from the first one, I also now have to deal with this one, as I've just now rejected twice. And to make matters worse, she then dates someone else, her best friend at the time, a month after we broke up. So not only did, although our relationship was only 2 months long, it still felt painful to see someone that I had put investment into move on very quickly. I enter my freshman year of college, and I meet this girl. I thought she was gorgeous, she was tall, she was beautiful, and and she seemed interested. So I had decided to talk to her. And my idea was that I was just going to get laid, and I was just having fun in college, and, just going to have some fun, no need for a relationship. And she had completely changed my mind, as we were incredibly compatible. And it seemed pretty borderline perfect. So we started a relationship. And we had our own relationship problems. And our own relationship problems were, let's just say, they were mostly coming from me. My two biggest problems were my addiction to pornography and I would say mean things or things that she didn't really like to hear based off my now red pill mindset that I had created. So, in this relationship was my most intimate relationship out of every girl I've ever been with. And I was her first for everything as well. I was her first for sex. We were each other's first to shower, to clean together, to sleep together, to cook together, to use the bathroom in front of one another, and so on and so forth. A very intimate relationship. It was 8 months long. So not the longest, but also not the shortest. Most of our arguments came from me not being able to quit pornography. And sometimes the comments I'd make, like something like that. Or vulgar sexual humor that she didn't like. And I just, fell off guard and didn't really realize I was doing it. That's where it all started. And so, but you're not really here to listen to my relationship problems and why the breakup occurred. But yeah, I guess telling you why the breakup occurred and what happened after. So the breakup occurs, and in between it all, we were hugging, we were kissing. She was still calling me my pet name. She was telling me, and she told me all these things. So she told me she was in love with me. She did not want to leave me, that she had to leave me so that I would change, and that maybe we could see what would happen in the future. So the breakup occurs, and I'm very pumped up and full of energy to finally change my bad habits and my ways, to get rid of my video game problems that were caused from the porn addiction and all these things. Many problems that I knew that I had to solve right now so that I could win her back. Because I felt, she loved me, she was invested into our relationship, and I loved her, and so on. Well, come to find out, 2 months into the breakup, I find out that she's already in a new relationship. Matching ring little necklaces and all. And of course I was devastated. I felt very shafted of it all. And to say that how I did not see her behavior just jumping into a new relationship. Although now both of them are in new relationships, so X1 and X2 apparently, and my friend, as I used to wish pain for them, but now I just wish no pain, of course, because I could see how everything went down. And now for X3, I have not been looking at social media, and I wish her pain as well, funny enough.
Rebounds are considered to be a very frivolous thing to talk about. And for me, it's always been something which is a very challenging emotion. It also forces us to confront different things about our lives. But what I do want to say is that yes, rebounds and crushes, they do pump our happiness. When you're going through a breakup, you're rejected, and it fills us with a lot of pain and a lot of self-doubt and a lot of self-pity. And when a crush comes along and tells us that we're good and funny and smart and pretty and beautiful, all of that, and we're attractive and we're desirable, it just pumps up our lives with happiness. But that said, rebounds can also get you down, because I was just speaking to a friend of mine, and she'd been having a lot of rebounds, and she told me that she feels incomplete and she was almost on the verge of a breakdown because all of this was just getting too much for her. I suggested to her that she take some time off from this rebound dating and focus on herself, focus on her happiness, focus on her friends. So yes, while rebounds and crushes and all the compliments can pump our happiness, they can also get us down. So be careful. And that is why for this podcast, I talked to Dr. Kamna Chibber. She's the head of mental health at Fortis Gurugram. I wanted to understand from her, from a psychological point of view, how we should take rebounds.
So there are obviously two sides to this. One is that how did one person end up jumping from one relationship quickly to another one, wherein this person was able to make that shift or felt that need that in order for me to feel more whole or more my own self, I need to get that reinforcement from the other. Now that's one part of it. The other side is what is it doing to the other person with whom you had that breakup. That person, of course, goes through their own struggle now in trying to interpret their own meaning and value in their partner's life. That, okay, was I only worth this much, or was I only this much a part of this person's life that all it took was for them to go into or get into another relationship on the rebound with someone else, and they're able to move past me. What they don't realize is that actually the person is not past them or over them. It's in fact the fact that they're having more thoughts about their partner, and they're also seeking that connection that sometimes makes them do these kind of actions to feel better, to be able to go ahead and start living their life in a more wholesome manner. And that can be very devastating for you as someone who's seeing your ex go on the rebound and move into other relationships. Can certainly be extremely difficult, but it's very important to ensure that one is not attaching meanings or references to one's own self-worth, or being good enough within the context of a relationship with that.
Guys, what Dr. Kamna here is saying is important generally also for us in life, because we do tend to view ourselves with how others view us, and that is a big mistake. Most of us, we tend to derive our value of how we are and how good we are in the context of others. How people perceive us in our jobs, how people perceive us in our relationships, how our partner thinks we are, how our parents think we are. We don't have any inner sense of centric, that how we are is enough. So I think that is why it's important to ask yourself before going into a rebound, why am I doing this? What is the reason for me to do this rebound? And for that, Sejal Bhatt, a comedian from Bombay, has a very interesting test.
Okay, here's the question I would ask. Would taking away the presence of this rebound person make you feel somewhat like invalidated, somewhat halved, somewhat like empty, somewhat like needy? I think then it's a problem. I think that's how I phrase it. Yeah.
That's actually very good to ask whether this person is making you happy or their compliments are actually making you happy. you know,
Yeah, if this person was replaced by any other person, like a machine, and they did the same thing for you, would it have the same effect? Like a very emotional dildo, if you had, would that also fulfill the same criteria? I don't know. I think it's a point of like self-reflection that you have to do. Like if you feel like the need to be with another person comes not from companionship and like wanting to share your joy and all of that, but rather from like a desperate need for someone to validate you on anything, on how smart you are or how cool you are or clever or funny or intelligent or whatever. Like those are the adjectives I have always been hung up about. I think then you know that it's probably unhealthy for you in the long run.
But guys, here's my take, okay? Do not go by the Urban Dictionary definition of rebounds. Because rebounds can also sometimes take you to the one. Sejal here has a much needed happy story for all of you rebound diggers.
Tell me more about this friend of yours. I mean, how was the story?
Oh, hers was like a bit of an impulse decision, I guess. It's a rebound arranged marriage, actually, is what happened. She had a breakup. It was like they had like her previous boyfriend and her had a long, like 2-3 year relationship. And then somewhere around, I think, Jan or so, they broke up. And then February, there was some guy, her parents showed her, and she was like, yeah, you know what, I'll just take it. I'll rebound marry. And everyone was like, no, don't. And they've been happily married for like a while now. And like, genuinely happily married. It's not like I just now have to put up a front because I just made this terrible decision or anything. They just recently celebrated their first anniversary, and from all I know, they're actually quite happy. Wow. We're going to have a baby together soon.
Wow, that is such a happy story, guys. But that leaves me wondering, are rebounds to be considered a happy ending? Or should we stick to the popular notion of rebounds being a self-inflicted wound that will fester over time? Well, I do think that it could be both, or it could be none. But one thing that I'm sure about is that rebounds are a part of this journey that we call life. Rebounds can put us on the path to intense self-discovery. They can make us realize what is it that we really need in a relationship. They can also be a comforting thing when life has punched us in the face. But the important thing to realize is, why are you going for a rebound? Have you healed yourself properly? Or are you just going to someone with whom you can temporarily belong? If you have any rebound story to share with us, then please send it to us in the comment section. And before I go, let me remind you that if you liked listening to this podcast, then you can subscribe to the Quint channel on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and the many, many different platforms that we are on right now. I'm Divyani Rattanpal. If you had any feedback for me, you can send it to me. I am on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also log on to the Quint website and check out the podcast section. If you have any feedback for me, shoot me an email at podcast@thequint.com. Until the next time, ciao.